But dear viewers, buckle your seatbelts, because today I'm going to introduce you to many witnesses who report on the cruelest human sacrifices that seem to still take place today. KLA TV has received hundreds of witness reports from all over the world for a long time already, independently from each other, yet giving unequivocally identical statements concerning an extremely brutal Satan cult in which the uppermost class of our society is involved. Since these people are very rich and powerful, these brutalities, which have been witnessed 100,000-fold, seems to be definitely kept undercover by media, by secret services, police, and courts. In short, by all important authorities. KLA TV cannot even air these documentations and live reports due to their cruelty. These videos are being immediately deleted since they're not rated G. And yet, I would like to introduce you today to 27 victims and 27 testimonies. I'll briefly summarize some of their statements. It's going to get really tough now. The following content is not suitable for persons under 18 years. So buckle up and join me on this journey of meeting these victims and witnesses. Please do not turn off the video too early. This is Deborah from French-speaking Switzerland. She says she attended satanic masses and had to watch the limbs of a child being cut off with an electric knife and being sexually abused in the process. She is disclosing these cruel events because she knows that children today are still experiencing this hell. Yes, I'm speaking up for all the children who are still going through this. In order to stop it. One should know about this so that it can stop. This is Noemi. She testifies of having been abused countless times as a child for 5 years long. She says she attended satanic ceremonies in which priests in long dark robes were sacrificing children. After the sacrificing, food was served on the terrace, big platters piled with meat. And she says, this was human flesh. Noemi wants people to hear this, hear it again and again, so that children will no longer have to experience this, so that people wake up and understand reality, no longer say, this kid lied. My story is proof that this pedophile network truly exists. Teresa from England testified on the TV broadcast 60 Minutes that already as a very young girl, she had been violently impregnated several times and that her babies were extracted from her and ritually sacrificed. She claims she was forced to even eat the remains of her babies. She was also forced to carry out sexual acts with animals. She was abused in big satanic ceremonies by up to 30 people, one after the other. And dear viewers, please don't turn off this video now. Stay with us. This man here, Guido Grant, is a German journalist, TV producer, lecturer, and author. For more than 30 years, Grant has done research on satanic cults and their cruel crimes. In several books, he reports of the most severe psychological, physical, and sexual perversions, of black masses, blood sacrifices, cannibalism, and vampirism. I would like to quickly just mention here that countless victims and witnesses have written down their cruel experiences in books. I'll just briefly show 56 of the titles here. Here are Alyssa and Gabriel Dearman from England. During several official questionings by the police and in front of running cameras, they reported on who abused them, amongst others their own father. Here a little part of the original quote.
Stick it in her bottom.
Who does? Who sticks it in your bottom?
Social services. Everybody does. All of them.
Who?
Everybody.
Does your mother do it?
No.
Do I do it?
No.
Who does it then?
Papa, Mrs. Hollings, the school.
Parents.
My dad's
Tell me more people. Tell me some more people, please. I'm interested.
Parents, police.
What about the teachers at school? Who's the main one?
Papa, Mr. Hollings, Mrs. Forsyth.
Who's Mrs. Forsdyke?
She's the head teacher of our school.
And what happens in the church?
And we do baby sacrifice and eat the baby.
What do you mean sacrifice and eat the baby?
So we kill the baby and eat it and drink the blood from it.
Is that true, Gabriel?
Yes. And we dance with the skulls.
When this video with Alyssa and Gabriel's statements went public, the judiciary suddenly acted very fast. Unfortunately, though, in the wrong direction. The children were immediately taken away from their mother because she had allegedly talked the children into these lies. And that's how it just felt, hearing that right now, didn't it? and the sole custody was transferred to the oh-so-trustworthy father, Ricky Dearman, despite the available medical reports confirming the abuse of the children. The BBC took great efforts in an interview with the father, Ricky Dearman, to make him look innocent. He was presented as if he had become a victim of a malicious campaign. So the children grew up in Hollywood under his protection. Let's still listen to the mother of the two, Ella Draper. She testified that her husband, Ricky Dearman, was the leader of the satanic group in Hampstead. She found out that he had been involved with the cruel torturing and killing of children and had made films of this and sold them on the darknet. Didier Cazet, a French journalist, reports that such videos are called snuff videos. Children are being abused and tortured in these videos until they die in front of running cameras. In order to see a child die, rich people pay from 25,000 up to 1 million euros. Who has 1 million euros in their pocket to pay for such a video? More about that in a moment from other victims. But now first a statement about these snuff videos from the psychotherapist Michaela Huber. She's from Germany and works with victims of ritual abuse. She says the younger the victims are, the more you see their face on the snuff video, and the more sadistically cruel the portrayed scenes are, the more money a film like this is worth. This is Jesse Marson from Germany. He reports that from childhood on, he was sold to pedophile customers who would sexually abuse and torture him. He tells the same horrific stories of abuse and torture, just like all the others. Sometimes he was booked only to be beaten. He was tied up and beaten for an hour. Later, he recognized his tormentors on election posters or on television and got to know their names. He and other victims testify that these are very rich and influential people. This is Richard Kerr from Ireland. He reports how he and other children were being abused at the Kincora Boys' Home in Belfast, Ireland, then being brought to England, where they were abused for many years by powerful people and politicians in the Dolphin Square. This is a house near the House of Parliament, an Elm guest house, a brothel. He says that the abuse took place on a large scale. His statements match with those of Nick, who also testified that several children were killed in the most brutal manner. The police classified his witness report as credible and true. This is Ronald Bernard from the Netherlands. As a successful entrepreneur and financial manager for many years, he had direct insight into the top level of the financial elite like hardly anyone else. He testified that after a certain time, powerful circles had requested him to sacrifice defenseless children in ritual masses to their god Lucifer, Satan. But he could not do that. According to his statements, this Satan cult has been practicing such child sacrifices for thousands of years. It is a common and effective means to blackmail career-minded employees and make them compliant. Former high-ranking U.S. CIA agent Robert David Steele confirms exactly this. He said pedophilia is an inherent part of the illegitimate power elite. According to Steele, the participation in the abuse of children, often including their sacrifice, serves as a kind of initiation and ritual into higher circles of power. The recorded atrocities serve as blackmail material. Back to the Netherlands. This is Toos Nijenhuis. According to her statements, she was born into a family that practiced satanic ritual abuse. Toos was tortured in her genital area with electric shocks and had to watch as followers of the Satan cult sexually assaulted the dead. According to her accounts, these servants of Satan organized hunts in which Toos and other children were chased with dogs through dark forests, absolutely terrified of death. Quite a few children were killed after the hunt. Toos reported that Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands and Cardinal Alfrink had been present during these hunts. This is Fiona Barnett from Australia. She testifies that she was raped from the age of 6 by several politicians and other high Australian and American public figures. She names Prime Minister at the time, Geoff Whitlam, Attorney General Lionel Murphy, Governor General John Kerr, later Prime Minister Bob Hawke, former U.S. President Richard Nixon, and media mogul Ted Turner. She also witnessed ritual killings. She wrote a book about it titled Eyes Wide Open. Once Fiona made her experiences public, several hundreds of other victims contacted her. Yes, I know. The media tells us that these people are lying, or that their memories are wrong, and their therapists have just talked them into this. I just wonder, did all these people in all these different countries make up the same lie? Dr. Marcel Polte, a German lawyer, dealt with the matter, raising the question as to why so few of these horrible crimes are made public, and why are they hardly ever legally prosecuted. He's written several books on satanic cults and documented that the media run massive campaigns to ridicule the whole thing. They title these cases Satanic Panic and False Memory Syndrome. This means that the cruel incidents did not actually happen, but that the therapists only talked the abused victims into them. In other words, that they implanted false memories, so to speak. What is interesting is that the False Memory Syndrome Foundation was started by, amongst others, Ralph Underweger, a self-professing pedophile. I'd like to present you with a practical example of such a media campaign so that you can imagine better what Dr. Polte meant. This here is the cult expert Otto Georg Schmid, who is vehemently denying the existence of such a satanic cult in a documentary series by Swiss TV station SRF called Satanic Panic. All this is supposedly a conspiracy theory. Mr. Schmid works together with SRF journalist Robin Rehmann, whom you can see here. He's just laughing about the fact that there are people who believe in ritual satanic abuse. Leading senior physician Dr. Matthias Kollmann, in contrast, was fired following the broadcast because he confirmed through his practice to SRF that there is organized satanic ritual abuse. Through lowest niveau journalism, all the witnesses and victims in these series are presented as unreliable. This man as well, cult expert Hugo Stamm, explains in the same SRF series Satanic Panic that none of this exists, that it is irrational and inconceivable. These traumatized women supposedly have false memories, etc. It's very interesting that the same cult experts, together with the same Swiss TV station, SRF, accuse my father, for example, the preacher Ivo Sasek, of being a dangerous and brutal cult leader. And by the way, I happen to know my father already for 34 years. He is love and kindness personified, a man who stands before God day and night. My parents, who are both so badly slandered in the media and criminalized, have moved tens of thousands of people to goodness and reconciled them with God. They live an absolutely exemplary life, and along with KLA-TV, expose the crimes of the elite. They've treated drug addicts and mental health patients free of charge and have been serving thousands of people seeking help day and night for 45 years. To this day, they always have given everything they had for the needy of society. Plus, all their services and products are free of charge. So why does SRF and these cult experts have such a great interest in demonizing the most exemplary people and covering up the perpetrators of the worst crimes? Countless fighters for truth from all over the world experience the same thing. They are slandered and criminalized by the media and their so-called experts. But the criminals escape unscathed. Incidentally, back to sect expert Hugo Stamm, I had already sent him enough sources and witness statements long before his program with SRF. But I never heard anything from him. I personally sent him the following statements, for example. This one, for example, Antje from Germany. She reports that she had to give birth to her baby without help And then she was put into a robe and was forced to kill her own baby while a rhythmic chanting was performed. The knife held in her hand was moved by the high priest. Afterwards, she had to cut out the heart, and everyone who stood around the altar, including herself, had to eat a piece of it. In the same documentary by German TV station ARD, Life in Hell, Antje's sister, Sandra, was also interviewed about these satanic rituals. She had not seen her sister Antje for 10 years and described the very same satanic rituals in great detail, without any consultation and independently from her. She was forced to watch Antje deliver her baby, unassisted, and being forced to eat a piece of her own placenta, and she had to watch the killing of Antje's baby as well. Lisa from Germany, too, she tells the same thing. She was impregnated by the Satanists, and after 3 to 4 months, the birth was induced. When the child came out dead, during the very painful birth, she had to bring it to the altar, although she was still heavily bleeding and could hardly walk. And the others explain this also. And then she had to cut up the dead fetus there, together with the high priest. Lisa also had to eat a piece of it and drink blood. These descriptions match the statements of many other victims down to the last detail, and these people don't know each other. This is Janet Seemann from Germany, who is researching missing children. She collaborates with the French activist Stan Milot. As early as 2008, she addressed a video message to Pope Benedict and one to former Chancellor Angela Merkel, in which she indicated that countless children in Europe were missing. They were sold, abused, tortured, and killed in a widespread pedocriminal network. Seemann and Melot published a document on how child molester rings, child protection organizations, the police, the judiciary, and politics work together. And they came to the scandalous conclusion that judiciary and politics protect child molestation rings. Seemann and Melot were persecuted, even imprisoned at times, and condemned on false charges. In addition, the slogan, "The Janet Seemann Fake," was created, and Seemann was branded as a conspiracy theorist. Almost nothing can be found anymore about all their research. Almost everything has been deleted, similar as with many other witnesses. Now I'll show you more testimonies of victims who describe the exact same cruel things as the victims from France, England, USA, and the Netherlands, etc. Prepare yourself again, but we have to listen to these victims, contrary to the media and the courts who are not doing it. Now let's go to the United States again, where Alicia Owens also tells the exact same story. She says she was ritually abused as a child and that she witnessed the most horrific mutilations. She was there when other children were tortured and killed. The remains were often eaten, the eyes being of particular importance. Alicia, too, was forced to eat from it. She says these were satanic rituals through which those involved wanted to gain spiritual powers. Audrey also tells the same story. She has been present at child sacrifices. She said that a woman in a black robe placed a baby on an altar. The priest slit the baby's throat open, poured the blood in a chalice, and drank it. Heidemarie Kammens of Sect Info in Germany explains why these child sacrifices are being carried out. This is the satanic ceremony of the Black Mass. This ritual serves to worship Satan. Satan wants sacrifices, Satan wants blood sacrifices. Satan wants more and more blood sacrifices, and the best thing for Satan is a newborn child. In a touching video from April 2nd, 2020, the well-known singer Xavier Naidoo calls his viewers to confront themselves with this topic. Oh, I just watched some stuff that has to do with adrenochrome. I was just weeping. It's so awful. I just had to weep. It is so terrible. As early as 2012, Xavier addressed the ritual abuse of children with strong words, and that is obviously being carried out in high social circles in the song titled, "Where Are They Now?" Political and media persecution of this famous singer began immediately afterwards. This is David Rodriguez, a U.S. heavyweight boxer.
There are children sacrifices where people actually drink adrenochrome, where they terrify the child so much And this is hard to swallow. This is hard to even grasp, but it's an actual ancient ritual to terrify mainly children because they're more pure. Their adrenal glands are more pure. Terrify them to the point where they cannot, where they're so scared and they're pumping out so much adrenaline and they're so terrified, and then you finally kill them and you drink their blood. It's a sick ritual ceremonies, and now they bottle up and sell it in the vials, and people buy this shit. I know people in this business that are confirming to me what I know.
The following quote from the well-known Satanist Aleister Crowley from his book, Magic in Theory and Practice, Band 4, page 87, also confirms this. I quote, "The bloody sacrifice has from time immemorial been the most considered part of magic. For the highest spiritual working, one must accordingly choose that victim which contains the greatest and purest force. A male child of perfect innocence and high intelligence is the most satisfactory and suitable victim, and for nearly all purposes, human sacrifice is the best." End of quote, Aleister Crowley, Satanist. I know this is really hard stuff, but at this point I'd like to quote Renate Rennebach, former member of the German Parliament and founder of the Foundation for Victims of Ritual Abuse. She says, and I quote, "As long as society does not accept that it's the gentlemen in the white vests who are involved and that they have the network, and we do not, nothing will change. But I think that if we all continue to work on this and make it public, the tide will turn." So according to the words of this former member of the German Parliament, it is up to us, the people, that we spread it to all our acquaintances, to get it out to the general public. Let's continue with a victim from the U.S., Bryce Taylor. She also testified that she experienced sexual abuse from an early age on and was trained under brutal torture to become a sex slave for high-ranking individuals, especially for U.S. politicians. She said that she had been abused, amongst others, by John F. Kennedy, Lyndon B. Johnson, Richard Nixon, and Ronald Reagan. She also had to attend satanic masses and witness ceremonial murders and cannibalism. Ted Gunderson, who worked for 27 years in the U.S. as FBI special agent, confirmed that the statements of the victims are true, including the statements of Bryce Taylor that we just saw. He adds concerning these satanic sacrifices and abusive rituals,
I also have contacts on the inside of the U.S. intelligence community. I have information from various sources that judges, law enforcement, prosecutors, attorneys, doctors, and many prominent individuals, including actors, actresses, professional football and baseball players, are involved in these type activities.
This is Linda Wiegand. She reports that her two boys, Ben and John, became victims of satanic ritual violence. 25 people from the state attorney's office investigated this and provided evidence of ritual abuse. But when Linda started to expose this, her house and car were confiscated, as well as her income and assets. Everything she owned was taken away from her. And since then, she has been fighting for her children and has received letters from all over across the USA, letters from people who are going through the same experiences and are begging for help. She also reports on an 8-year-old boy who was crucified alive in a basement after being skinned alive.
When they torture the children, it causes a physical reaction of the endomorphins in your body to just increase because of the terror and the pain. So when the Satanists drink the blood, they actually get like a chemical, a high, like a drug high from the blood of a tortured victim. And this little boy was found in the basement dead, with no blood, skinned alive and crucified.
This mother goes on to tell how she received no help from any authority, neither from the government nor from child protection agencies. The exact same testimony is given by Andrea Zadek, the mother of a victim from Austria, who is fighting for her boy, who also became a victim of ritual violence. The judges suddenly had no time. She got turned down everywhere. However, she received the offer that her son could return to her only if she would keep her mouth shut. Her boy had recognized some of the perpetrators on photos, all of them from the Austrian establishment. Andrea Sadek has also come across a network of corrupt judges, doctors, and psychologists who work for this group of perpetrators. Dear viewers, the media keeps hammering the message into our minds over and over again that ritual abuse does not exist. That's why I'm going to bring in even more witnesses and victims. I want to get to the bottom of this question of whether ritual abuse really doesn't exist. So stay with us. We will now have famous film and music stars speak out. Mel Gibson is one of the most famous stars in Hollywood. In an unofficial statement, he described the elite of the entertainment industry as enemies of mankind who feast on the blood of innocent children. I quote, "They feast on the blood of children. They eat their flesh. If the child suffered physically and mentally before dying, they believe that this will give them extra life force. They feast on the pain and fear, and the younger the better." End of quote. Gibson explained how he was blacklisted by Hollywood oligarchs in 2006 for speaking his mind about the industry. Since then, he has been working outside the system. Lord of the Rings star Elijah Wood revealed that Hollywood has a major pedophilia problem. And the famous actor Ricky Gervais insulted the celebrity elite as pedophile at an awards gala. Corey Feldman, a well-known U.S. actor, tells that he was abused in Hollywood for years. He says that he and his best friend, fellow child actor Corey Haim, were abused when they were 14-year-olds and that the trauma of that abuse played a part in his friend's death. Let's listen.
I can tell you that the number one problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia. That's the biggest problem for children in this industry.
This is Allison Carey, the sister of pop singer Mariah Carey. She explains that she was repeatedly sold by her mother for satanic ceremonies. There she had to watch how children were not only sexually abused, but also tortured to death. Isaac Cappy has spoken out about his rape by actor Tom Hanks. He has also accused director and screenwriter Steven Spielberg of molestation. He stated on record that he was not suicidal. Nevertheless, he was found dead, and the authorities ruled that it was a suicide. In this context, it's not surprising that in the famous Hollywood movie, The Shack, God appears to the father of a little child who has been abused to death and convinces him that he should forgive the perpetrator 1,000 times if necessary, until the pain drops, and that he shouldn't just go and sit on the judge's seat, because everything is much more difficult than he thinks. When asked about the wrath of God, God only laughs, because this supposedly does not exist. At this point, I have to refer to the Bible briefly, where I've read in 31 places that it is an abomination to God when children are killed and sacrificed, that it calls his greatest wrath onto the scene, and that he has always put people like you and me on the judge's chair to deal with this. But back to our stars from the music and movie business, who, by the way, love to be photographed with satanic identification symbols. Chris Cornell of Audioslave and Soundgarden, as well as Chester Bennington of Linkin Park, tried to expose these crimes, and both allegedly committed suicide. Dead witnesses and mysterious deaths among Satan cult dropouts appears to be a common thread in the witness reports related to this satanic cult. This was Jean-Marc Houdmont, one of at least 27 dead witnesses who were involved in the abuse case surrounding the Belgian Marc Dutroux. Houdmont was a filmmaker and dealt in porns. One day he called the police because he wanted to testify. And on his way to the police station, he crashed his car into the wall of a house. Interestingly, the documentary about these mysterious 27 dead witnesses by the German television station ZDF has been completely deleted on YouTube. Same for many other witness statements. Alone during the production of this broadcast, a dozen sources were deleted. KLA-TV saved them, though, in its private archives many years ago. Download this video absolutely onto your own computer and spread it. Also, the text with all the sources can be downloaded with one click below the video. Incidentally, this broadcast is the result of 10 years of intensive research. This is Liz Crokin, a U.S. journalist. She said that people who blow the whistle on elite pedophiles often die mysteriously. So did sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, who was involved in a prominent sex trafficking ring. According to Crokin, there were probably 50 very important people who might have had a motive to kill Epstein, as they were in big trouble because of him. Epstein had hosted some of the highest-level, most famous, and most powerful people in the world, and had videotaped their activities. According to her statements, members of the royal family, Prince Andrew, models like Naomi Campbell, famous actors like Kevin Spacey, and politicians like Bill and Hillary Clinton were involved. Mandy Kopp testified that, as a girl, she was held captive in a minor's brothel in Germany, where she was raped and abused by judges, lawyers, and real estate agents. According to her statements, the purpose was to put pressure on political decision-makers. Saxony's Minister of the Interior at the time, de Maizière, obstructed the investigation and eventually stopped it completely. He was then promoted to the office of the German Federal Minister of the Interior. Mandy Kopp reported 2 high-ranking lawyers as abusers and was subsequently sued by these lawyers for defamation. This is Kathy O'Brien from the USA. In her book, Transformation of America, the author describes how she and her daughter were abhorrently sexually abused as minors by U.S. politicians, elites such as Ford, Reagan, Bush, Cheney, and the Clintons. Through the details published in her book, she hoped to bring criminal prosecution against her tormentors, but in vain. Despite ample evidence, cases were dropped for reasons of national security. Let's jump to Belgium. According to her testimony, Anneke Lucas was sold as a 6-year-old into a satanic network that included very rich people who liked to kill children. After years of abuse, she was strapped to a butcher block at age 11 that was stained with the blood of all the children sacrificed on that block before her. She survived because a member of the satanic cult took pity on her and freed her. Her rescuer had to pay for that with his life. It is noteworthy that the media picks on absolutely harmless Christian groups when they merely do not want to have contact with dropouts or people who have fallen away from God, so to speak. Yes, this is downright criminalized and demonized. But let's listen now to how the blood cult deals with its dropouts. There was a dropout. He was killed, skinned, and thrown into a swamp. Are you sure? Did you see that? Yes. Yes. John Wedger is a former Scotland Yard officer who, during his tenure, discovered organized pedophilia in at least 34 cases in England. These were not isolated cases, but the examples just kept piling up.
And then the one thing that kept cropping up was satanic ritual abuse.
He was threatened. They tried several times to jail him and take away his children. He didn't get paid for 3 years and almost lost his complete income. In spite of this, he continued his investigation, which uncovered a pedocriminal network that also involved popular BBC presenter Jimmy Savile. However, these investigations had no legal consequences for Savile, despite all the proven outrages. The BBC covered him up. He was even knighted by Queen Elizabeth. This is Paul Bonacci from the USA. In addition to countless cruel descriptions of satanic ritual abuse, he spoke about the sacrifice of a certain boy. They were all chanting at the annual ritual around the time of Christ's birth to pervert the blood of Christ. According to Paul, they slashed the boy open with daggers, filled a cup with his blood, mixed urine into it, and forced him and others to drink from the cup, chanting, "Satan is Lord, Lucifer, our King, Kingdom of Darkness, come now and empower us, your slaves." And then they all began to chant some weird sounds, and Paul got scared. He was threatened that he would become the next victim if he told anyone about this. John Ramirez was a convinced Satanist for many years. He tells about Satanist murders, rituals, and terrible things. He says that many people do not believe that the devil really exists, but Ramirez has had experiences with dark forces against which he strongly warns. Satan is real, he says, and his power is destructive. Halloween, according to Ramirez, is not a harmless, scary holiday, but among Satanists and witch circles, Halloween is still the supreme holiday, a celebration of horror and death. According to him, most children disappear during this time of year. This is Kevin Annett from Canada, former minister in the United Church of Canada. He was fired, by the way, after he uncovered this. People of Indigenous descent showed him mass graves of Indigenous children who had died in church homes. Witnesses testified that abuse and sacrifice had taken place. High-ranking individuals such as Stephen Harper, that's the former Prime Minister of Canada, Pope Benedict XVI, Queen Elizabeth, and many more were involved. In this case, too, witnesses died after testifying, of course. You find the list of the prominent people involved in the source credits. Incidentally, you can find all the detailed information on each single witness statement and on all the victims mentioned in the source credits or under this broadcast. I recommend, though, that you don't study all of them in depth because it's simply infinitely cruel. Be sure, though, to spread this video to all your contacts. Make sure you download this movie with the download function below the broadcast, because I don't know how long this video will be online. Take the time right now. It should be known everywhere this Halloween. In order to keep this broadcast from getting too long, I won't go into all the outrageous statistics about the mass disappearances of children all around the world. Many of them disappear into pedocriminal networks. But it will be enough for today to hear victims and witnesses, so please continue watching and stay with us. Republican politician John DeCamp from the USA wrote a book about the so-called Franklin cover-up abuse case, in which high-ranking politicians and other important public figures abused children. It was proven that 76 children were victims of this sex ring without dark figures. Children were killed in the cruelest ways in front of running cameras. The videos were then sold for huge amounts, amongst other things. Snuff videos, by the way. It was about making politicians vulnerable to blackmail. According to witness statements, the case involved former U.S. Presidents Ronald Reagan, George Bush, ex-CIA Director William E. Colby, and Warren Buffett, one of America's richest people. Before John DeCamp could bust the child molester ring, he was killed in a plane crash. Gary Caradori, a private detective trying to uncover the Franklin scandal, also died in a plane crash. The Polish filmmaker Patryk Wega conducted interviews for his movie The Eyes of the Devil with a child trafficker. This man reported that the abuse took place in isolated buildings, that the customers were very rich, and the children were often only 3 to 4 years old and do not usually survive the severe injuries and damages caused by the abuse. After the death of the children, medical teams were on hand to remove the organs. Horrendous sums of money could be made with the organs. When asked what kind of people abused the children to death, the child trafficker reported that these people often adhere to a satanic ideology. I'm feeling sick to my stomach. We're coming now to the end of this tour. I've only barely scratched the surface. But what needs to be done now? What is our part in this issue? A victim from Germany recently wrote me a letter concerning this question. She says, she wrote about the same atrocities she experienced like all the others did. And I felt nauseous as I read this letter, but then she really begged me to expose it. Because Life after this is hell, she said. Victim Nikki testifies to the same thing on camera because the physical and mental damages are indescribable. She had to have her womb and ovaries removed, for example, because they were so badly damaged through the abuse and torture. It's not a life anymore. One never gets over it unless it comes out to the light publicly. And for that, every one of us is needed. The author of this letter also says that she was threatened again and again with a knife and had to swear that she would never say anything about it to anybody, otherwise she would also be killed. So with this, I would like to draw your attention, dear viewers, to the fact that each of these victims and witnesses has paid a great price to speak out and expose these deeds on camera. So be sure to share this film with everyone you know, for the sake of these children, for the sake of the victims who have not yet received justice. And now, on behalf of all the other victims, the victim Katie Groves asks us to urgently distribute this broadcast.
I've witnessed thousands of murders, largely of children of color. I weep for my brothers and sisters in this place, the ones who are undoubtedly still alive and suffering there. There are children, I ask you to remember and acknowledge that there are children who are surviving it every day. There are children enduring this, dying in this, and surviving this who have to carry that pain all alone. And if they can do that, maybe you can muster the strength, if you have it, to look, to think about it just enough to get involved in some way to stop the madness. And no, I do not expect you to, and hopefully one day that collective spirit will be strong enough to take this stuff out at its source, to go down into the trenches and actually rescue the majority of the children in child trafficking who never make it out. Thank you.
I would like to tie the bag together now with a statement from the famous and influential British journalist and author David Icke. He has investigated this satanic cult and its crimes for decades and interviewed many victims. Now it's time for the final. Please stay with us until the end. I'll read from his book, The Biggest Secret. Satanic ritual abuse is a global network, another pyramid of interconnecting groups, with the high and mighty of society among their numbers, top politicians, government officials, bankers, business leaders, lawyers, judges, doctors, coroners, publishers, editors, and journalists. All the people you need, in fact, to carry out and cover up your rituals and crimes against humanity. It is not that researchers see Satanists everywhere. The ratio of them in leading positions is very high because that's the way it is meant to be. The satanic networks control the system, and so they ensure that there is a far higher ratio of Satanists in positions of power than there are in the general population. The higher you go up the pyramids, the more Satanists you find. Most of the non-Satanists are filtered out before they reach those levels. The result of all this for the children involved is beyond the imagination of anyone who has not experienced the level of trauma that they must suffer. What the victims have told me would be almost unbelievable were it not coming from so many different, unconnected sources, and were not all the stories across the world not telling the same basic tale, even down to the details of the rituals and the mind programming techniques. The children and the traumatized adults they become have nowhere to turn. Their stories are so astonishing that few people believe them, and they are frightened of going to the police because they know that the satanic networks includes top police officers, judges, civil servants, media people, politicians, and many others who control our free society. This was David Icke. That's why it needs you and me, dear viewers, to make these victims and witnesses heard. David Icke is an expert concerning this blood cult, and he stretches the arc even further and gives an explanation on why it is actually possible that there can be war in the year 2022, where people who were just sending emojis to one another a moment before now have to shoot at each other. I quote David Icke, "In the same way, a war to these people is a mass blood ritual in which unimaginable numbers are killed and maimed, and the planet is engulfed by negative emotional energy." This was confirmed by the influential Satanist Aleister Crowley in the 4th volume of his book series, Magic in Theory and Practice. He illustrates how the whole planet has to be bathed in blood. This great war has to be carried out because it is a magic operation of great importance. You can read it yourself. Page 88, 4th band. In closing, David Icke commented about this. It is this energy that this satanic cult needs to feed on it. This sounds crazy, but we have to take these words seriously. Watch my father's speech, Psychozyme Dimensions, for a follow-up to this broadcast. It could clarify quite a few questions. I put the link below my broadcast here. Share this broadcast with everyone you know. Download it and save it on your computer. It's up to you now.
It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen. It has already passed the illegal arms trade, and soon it's going to pass the drug trade. Because you can sell a bag of cocaine one time to a child 5 to 10 times a day. God's children are not for sale.
How long have you been doing this?
12 years now.
How many pedophiles you got?
288.
How many kids you found?
Timoteo, tú rescatas niños, ¿verdad? ¿Puedes ayudarme a encontrar a mi hermana?
Te lo prometo.
For Homeland Security, you know we can't go off rescuing Honduran kids in Colombia.
Which means she'll disappear for good. Imagine walking into her room right now, seeing an empty bed. What we do?
You quit your job, and you go and rescue those kids.
So at this moment, she could be a block down the road, or she could be in Moscow, Bangkok, LA. She's a major operator.
It's all rebel territory. No one goes in. Not the army, not the police, not us.
What if this was your daughter?
There's no Marine unit coming.
You're on your own. This job tears you to pieces. And this is my one chance to put those pieces back together.
When God tells you what to do,